Tent versus marching band. So last weekend, my friend Greg convinced me to go camping with him because, in his words, nature is just like Netflix, but with more buffering. We drove out to this supposedly idyllic spot he found online, which, in reality, was about 20 feet from a suspiciously active cow pasture and a parking lot for a youth soccer tournament. Still, after wrestling with the tent for 3 hours, and nearly declaring bankruptcy on tent poles, we finally settled in for what Greg called the full outdoor experience, which apparently included arguing over who forgot the bug spray. Around 6 a.m., I woke up to a weird sensation, not the usual camping discomfort, but like we were moving. At first, I figured it was just Greg tossing around, trying to find the one position that made his inflatable pillow feel less like a water balloon. But then I noticed the shadow of our tent gliding across the ground. Peeking outside, I realized that, indeed, our entire tent was being carefully hoisted and carried, by at least a dozen people in matching uniforms. I nudged Greg awake, his first reaction, tell the cows to keep it down, and together, we unzipped the door to find ourselves smack in the middle of a high school marching band. Apparently, the band director, clipboard in hand and whistle at the ready, thought our olive green tent was just the right shade to mark the center of the field. They'd been searching for a new rehearsal spot after being booted from the soccer pitch, and our tent was now the unofficial home base for the trumpet section. Before we could protest, a tuba player handed us sheet music and asked if we knew how to play Eye of the Tiger. Greg immediately volunteered me for cymbals, despite my experience being limited to air drumming on my steering wheel at red lights. We spent the next hour being paraded around the field, tent and all, as the band worked through their halftime routine. By the time they finished, both Greg and I had developed a newfound respect for sousaphone players' neck strength and an irrational fear of piccolo solos. I guess the moral of the story is, if you want peace and quiet in nature, don't pitch your tent on the 50-yard line, or you might find yourself literally caught up in a marching band's latest movement.